In this video, I'll look at two different problems in which we're dividing a number by a decimal number. Now that first number, which is the dividend, can either be a whole number or a decimal number itself. In this first example, we have a whole number divided by a decimal number. We're going to set it up like we've been setting up our division problems. The dividend is underneath the division symbol, and our divisor is on the outside. Here we have 4 hundredths, and we're going to divide that into 5. Now the thing is that we do not want to divide with decimal numbers if the decimal number is in the divisor. To get rid of that decimal number, we're going to move it over to the right until it is after the last digit. In this case, if we move it over 2 spaces, it's past the last digit. What we're essentially doing is we're taking 4 hundredths and we're multiplying it by 100. Let's see what we get. Notice that our answer becomes a whole number of 4. Because I am essentially multiplying this number by 100, that means if I want to keep the value of this equation, I want to do the same thing to the number in the dividend. Because the decimal point is after this last digit, even though it's not written down, I'm going to move the decimal point over 2 places to the right, just like I did with the divisor. I'm going to bring up that decimal point and substitute these spaces with zeros. The reason this works is because if I take 5 and multiply it by 100, I'm going to get 500. In both cases, I move the decimal point 2 places to the right. 1, 2, 1, 2. I eliminate these zeros, and I'm really dividing 500 by 4. Let's go ahead and do that now. Four goes into 5 one time. When I take the difference, I get 1, and I need to bring down the 0 of the next digit. 4 goes into 10 2 times. That's going to give me 8. And when I subtract, I get 2. I want to bring down the next 0. 4 goes into 20 5 whole times. Because the difference is 0, I don't need to add a 0 to bring down any more digits. My answer is going to be 125. Now if I think about this answer, 4 hundredths is a pretty small number, and if I'm going to break up 5 by a pretty small number, I'm going to get a lot of those groups. And that's why this number is a lot bigger. Let's now look at a problem in which both the dividend and the divisor have a decimal number. In this example, we have 1 75 hundredths divided by 5 tenths. If I write it like I do normally with a division problem, it will look like this. Notice that the divisor has a decimal point. I do not want to divide by a decimal point, so I want to move the decimal point over to the far right. In this case, I'm moving it over 1 time. And that's essentially me multiplying this 5/10 by 10. And so I get 5. So I can cross out this 0. Now, because I moved the decimal point over 1 space to the right, I want to do the same thing with the decimal point in the dividend. That's essentially me saying 1 75/100 times 10. When I multiply this out, I'm going to get 1750. So when I bring it over 1 space to the right, I'm going to bring my decimal point into my quotient, and now I'm going to do my division. If I didn't move the decimal point the same amount of spaces as in my dividend or in my divisor, my answer would be incorrect. So let's go ahead and solve this. 5 does not go into 1. I could put a 0 here. 5 goes into 17, however, 3 times. So that's 15. I get a remainder of 2, and I want to bring down that 5. 5 will go into 25 5 times. So my answer is 3 5/10. Now let's say that I didn't move the decimal over. Instead, my answer would be 0.35 or 0 35/100. Notice these two numbers are not the same. This is a much smaller number than this one. And so you want to be mindful that if you move the decimal point in the divisor, you need to move the decimal point the same number of spaces in the dividend.